Hello, friends. Welcome to Headset Hangouts. My name is Amelia, a customer success manager over here at Headset, and I'm going to be walking you through Sales Trends 101 today. Thank you for joining me and doing a quick educational session. We are going to be walking through a couple of different dashboards that really outline where you can find sales information. These are some dashboards I don't typically go through in my other training sessions. So thought it would be good to point out some hidden ones that you might not be aware of, or some interesting ones that you can get some cool stats from. So the first dashboard that we're going to go through is called Location Details. This is located under the Overview dashboard, or module, I should say, under Location Details. All right, so here, I really like this dashboard because it's just a really nice snapshot of what is going on within each of your stores from a sales point of view. We have the date range filter, which is pretty standard across most dashboards. I'm going to be focusing on looking at it by day, but you could also do by week. I'm going to look at all my stores here, and I'm going to summarize it by brand in the tables that need to summarize by brand or vendor. So at the top here, we have our summary. So each of our stores are listed here. We have total revenue, total cost, all of this really important sales metric type information can be found at the top. And then scrolling down, we have sales history over time. This is going to be in the last 30 days. So we can see trend line within total revenue. We're probably going to see some peaks and valleys here, depending on weekends or any sales or promos that are going on. And then total gross margin over time. It looks like our sales are a little bit down in October, which is interesting. Maybe as my fake retailer, we're going to have to look into that and the reasoning behind that. And then monthly revenue history over here at the right. This is going to be over time. So depending on when your stores were connected, the historical data you have to offer, there's going to be different years here and going through trends over month by month. Down here, we have our top products table. I like to call this like our choose your own adventure table because you can really sort it however you feel is most important. So for example, if you want to know what your most popular product is by number of units, you can sort it that way. So if we scroll over to the right a little bit here, we can sort by total units. And then we will get a list from top down what our most popular product was in terms of units sold. Now, likely this is going to be a non-cannabis related item. We can't sort out any non-cannabis related items here. But we can use our best judgment by looking at the next couple of products. So we can see an 8th here. This is flour. We've sold 224 units of this flour in the last 30 days, and that is our most popular product in terms of units sold, but probably not our most revenue generating product. So you could also sort this top or this total revenue column and see, in terms of total revenue, what was the product that brought in the most revenue for you guys. So if we sort it that way, we'll see a little bit of difference. Again, non-cannabis related item. Probably some sort of technology, but let's see this beverage. Wow, a beverage. Okay, Ray's Huckleberry Lemonade. In terms of total revenue, this is our 4th highest revenue product, which is pretty cool actually. So anyway, you get the point. You can do this by many different columns. Gross margin is here too, average item price, all that good stuff. Another thing I'd recommend doing is it can be sometimes finicky to use this in app, but you can download this data into Excel. I would hit advanced options, click custom, and then do 5,000 rows. That will ensure that you download all of the rows within this one table. So you can go ahead and click download, and then it will download to your desktop, and you'll be able to slice and dice the data however you want that way. Keep yawning. I'm just going to keep chugging coffee here. Alrighty. The other thing I really like about this location details is this hourly transactions. I believe on your daily summary email, you get a heat map, but I can't quite remember. Regardless, you can find a hourly transactions heat map over here on the right. So essentially, when are the most transactions happening during which hour of which day? It looks like Saturday afternoons, which is pretty standard. That is the highest transaction time for our stores. Anything with a darker rectangle is going to be a little bit less busy. All right. Scrolling up here, I'm going to jump into another dashboard that I think is pretty interesting, especially if as we're nearing the end of the year here. It is currently October, so I probably just dated this little training video, but we're going to head to year in review. So as we're nearing the end of the year, or when you're trying to plan for the following year, we can really aim to look at different stats from this year. So I'm going to refresh this. I'm going to look at 2022. And what we're going to see here is, one, our best week of the year. So when did we bring in the most amount of revenue? What week was that? Unsurprisingly, it was 4/18, the week of 4/20. And our best day of this year was 4/21. In our demo system, our holidays are one day later. So 4/20 actually is represented by 4/21 in our demo system. Don't know why that is, but that's just, so we're going to pretend that this is 4/20. And this is how much revenue we brought in on that day. Pretty cool. Then scrolling down here, we can see, oops, a little bit of a lag time, your top category. So flour, okay, cool. But then next to it, we can see the category sales. So in this nice, neat table, we can see how our categories did, what type of revenue they brought in, how many baskets were purchased with this product, percent of this year's sales profit and product. And then scrolling down at the very bottom, we have top brand. And then this is more of a Pareto Principle type of thing. So total distinct products, almost 20, so 23,000 here. Top 100 products were this percent of sales. So our top 100 products made up 7.2% of our total sales. And then down here, we do have a null value, but essentially this is the Pareto principle that I spoke about. This is the small percent of products that are making up 80% of your sales. So we should have around 20% here if we're following the Pareto principle rule. And then top 100 products sold in the year. This is going to include non-cannabis related items, so similar as that top products table that we saw earlier that did have non-cannabis. We cannot filter that out in this particular dashboard, but we're able to see, you can sort it by category, but it is going to be total revenue at the top here within the last year. So it looks like these first three are non-cannabis. But scrolling down, this Ceres edible fruit juice was your fourth highest in revenue. Alrighty. All right, so now that we have a good idea of what our top products were in the last year, again, you can use this to either plan for the year to come. You can do like a nice postmortem on how your previous year went. This is a great dashboard to use to either email to your executives or throw some of these stats in a presentation if you have to do like a yearly wrap up, year in review, like Spotify, you know how they do Spotify Wrapped, and it's all of your most listened to podcasts and songs and stuff. It's kind of like the nerdy data version of that. So anyway, that's year in review. Next, I want to jump to vendor brand details. That's going to be found under the sales module. Vendor brand details is really cool for if you want to really put a microscope on a specific brand or vendor or category. You can even drill down to package size here. So I'm choosing to look at just Wild. I want to see how Wild is doing at my store. This is a date range filter, so you can choose however long you want to look. I'm just looking at the last 30 days. We did do, for example, like a real life example, one of our customers just launched a new product. We wanted to see exactly how that product was performing over the last couple of weeks because it was a new category for them. So we were able to drill down into specific brand and category for that and see the new product and how many it sold throughout all of their stores. So that's one way that we could use this dashboard. So looking at Wild here, we have top level statistics. This is a pretty common thing amongst a lot of different headset dashboards. We can see total units on hand, total revenue that it's brought in the last 30 days, how much profit that means, average item price, all that good stuff. We can see sales trends down here. Total units over time is going to be represented in this blue bar. And then we have total revenue and gross margin. Total revenue is in the dark blue, and then gross margin is in this purple. So this is really nice to see if you're doing like vendor days or brand days at your store. You can clearly see spikes in revenue and unit count, and you're able to kind of track and trend that over time. For example, 10/8 over here, perhaps we did some sort of vendor day brand. We brought them in as like a brand promo, whatever that marketing jargon is that we want to use. We sold more units here than any other day in the past month. But our revenue wasn't as high, so maybe we gave like a nice hefty discount. That's something to identify here. Whereas on 10/2, not sure what we did. Maybe people were just coming in to buy it because they really wanted to, or we sent people a little text message about it. But our revenue was a lot higher and we sold less units. So we can start to look at those trends. If this was a brand day, we can start to ask ourselves, like, was the amount of discount that we gave away worth it? We can start to examine this even further in our discount analysis training, also through Headset Hangouts, because we go through a lot of discounting stuff in there. You can click, oh no, what did I do? You can click into this and look at total revenue by product as well. You'll get a little pop-up table. So what we can see here, we can maybe likely assume that we did do some sort of promo day. Total revenue for this Wild Sativa Raspberry Gummy, we sold 3 units, which is not that much, but still, we brought in a decent amount of revenue. Average item price was $18.81. Out of all of these units that were sold, it looks like almost 100% of them were discounted at some level. So should the average item price actually be higher? That's what we can start to ask ourselves. All right, if this brand had multiple categories, then we could see different category shares over time represented by different colors. But because we only have edibles for Wild, that's only showing one color here. Stock and sale information is interesting to me. This is a cool graph to look at if you're curious about how you're stocked with this particular brand. We can also see that in inventory coverage, but we can't exactly see when we restocked the brand as a whole. So this dark blue line represents the quantity in stock each day, and the light blue bars represent total sold on those days. So the more we sell, of course, the lower the dark blue line is going to get. And then we can see some peaks in these lines usually, which means that we restocked. So we went from 220 to 286. Questions to ask here, or things to kind of take a deeper dive into is, we had 220 units on hand of wild already. Did we really need to restock now, or could we have waited a little bit? This is where we can start to use our reorder report after looking at this information to understand, like, how did we really need to order wild edibles? Was there enough in stock within each of the product mix to kind of sustain the level of demand? And could we have maybe saved a couple of pennies, or save that shelf space for something else? Things like that we can start to ask ourselves just by looking at this one stock and sales graph. Now, this is where we continue the conversation of inventory. So product sales and current inventory on hand. This is really great because you can see all the products under this one brand. We can see how many you have on hand right now of each of them, the revenue within the last 30 days, units sold, profit, cost, percent of discounted units, average item price, all of that stuff. It looks like all of these are fairly even in terms of unit selling. Maybe the ones that are selling below 20 units within the last 30 days, like this peach gummies and the strawberry gummies, that is something to look into. Like, maybe those aren't as popular of products. Maybe you can not restock the next time you order. You can really take a look into how much money you're making off of those products, and if it makes sense to continue carrying them. But you can really start to examine these products under this brand and take a deeper dive into each of them. And down here is sales by bartender and register. Again, if you have like a brand day within your location, you can understand who's doing the most transaction counts for those brands. Maybe some people, need a little bit of assistance. They need help selling this particular brand. Maybe they need education. Something you can start to look at with this transaction counts, as well as percent of discounted units. Maybe we aren't supposed to be discounting 100% of wild edibles. Maybe we should only be discounting maybe 60% of them that we sell. So why are these people discounting 100% of the units that they're selling? However, this guy is bringing in more revenue even though he's discounting 100%. So interesting little nuggets of info that you can find in these graphs. Okay, so I've been doing a lot of talking. We're almost near the end. The last thing I want to point out is this categories as well as category details. So at a high level, categories is going to show you how each category stacks up against each other, how much revenue is each category bringing in, what do their units look like, and the average item price for each of those. So this is going to be from the past 30 days. The rest of the graph, I believe, is from either the past 30 or the last year of data. Down here at the very bottom, we can see category trends. So this is just the different rankings of categories over time. One thing that I like to point out is if you're introducing either a new product to your mix, or you're trying to increase the basket counts of people who are purchasing pre-rolls, things like that, you can start to track and benchmark against these numbers that we're looking at here. So we're looking at the last 2 complete months of this year and the current month, the last month of last year. So we're looking at September and August of this year, as well as September of last year. So we can see how each category ranks up against each other. All right, the next thing I want to jump into is category details, and this is going to be the last dashboard of this training. So this is really cool because you can really drill into a specific category here, look at it by brand or vendor. I'm looking at edibles right now. So percent of revenue, essentially what this is showing is a percent of revenue by brand. And then this is the running sum. So all this is saying is that all of these brands make up 100% of the edibles brand product mix. So it looks like Sherry's is in front runner, 16% of revenue within the edibles category. Wild is not far behind at 15%. We can see how monthly sales do this year compared to last year. Looks like this year is doing slightly better and outperforming last year in terms of edible sales. And then my favorite table of this whole dashboard is the revenue ranking. I think this is pretty cool. You can see the revenue ranking for each brand over time. So this one is a little bit different. We're looking at the last 2 complete months of this year versus the current month that we're in of last year. So October of 2021 versus September and August of this year. This is great if you're trying to understand a little bit more about your brand relationship or vendor relationship. If you're really working closely with a certain brand and you want to, you want those products to be #1 sellers in your store, this would be a great tool to use to benchmark against, because you can clearly see like who are the front runners, if they move up or down over time, things like that. And we can see monthly movement and yearly movement too. And down here, within the edible category, you can see your top product information. So we have a lot of top product tables. It just depends on how you want to slice and dice the info. So this is going to show total revenue, just like a lot of our other ones, total units sold in the time frame, gross margin percent, all that good stuff. All right, so that is really all I have to share with you about Sales Trends 101. This is a lot of information to digest, and we have even more dashboards about sales, but these are the ones that I thought might be most interesting and most useful that I don't typically review in any other training session. So again, we went through location details, we went through year in review, though they're going to be an overview. There's a lot of other really good high-level info within overview. And then in sales, we focus on vendor brand details, categories, and category details. So please reach out if you have any questions at all. Happy to help you, or feel free to chat into this chat bubble below, and our live support team will get back to you within about 30 seconds. If you have any questions about the data, how to run these reports, how to save these reports, they can help you out with any one of those questions. All right, well, I hope to see you next time. Thank you again for listening into this headset hangout session, and I hope to see you again soon.